uncertainty in this millennium rigorous university students to have management skill financial. University students are more susceptible to making financial management unwise. Poor financial management can cause financial problem and stress to university students. In this study, financial problems are more focused on insufficient amount education funding to cover basic needs while at university. This study aimed to identify the level of financial problem among university students, student financial management practice, and the measure phase so that it affect the learning process. Data collection is done through the distribution of online survey on Telegram and WhatsApp.
Nowadays, money is the most essential thing. As the world's innovation in technology and progress, people are becoming increasingly concerned and saying this as a serious issue. All over the world, individuals are becoming increasingly concerned about this issue, especially students. The reason behind this is being a student requires spending a lot of money, particularly on education. Based on our investigation, we identify one of the typical issues that students may encounter is a financial issue. Due to their bad habits such as spending on unnecessary items, this day having this type of issue will have negative consequences such as depression because they feel burdened with their debt. Besides, students will always feel stressed because they need to manage their time between studies and making money to ensure they will live for another day. Next, we collect the information using questionnaire method. Our target population was the undergraduate students that are between 18 to 26 years old from UiTM Segamat students to complete our questionnaire. By using the survey, we received 50 respondents. From our finding, we discovered that the majority of UiTM Segamat students experiencing stress due to financial problems. There are 50% students that their monthly financial range is 300 to 500, and as 46% of students sometimes skip their meal in order to save their money. Institutions must acknowledge and take action about this financial challenge in order to create a positive learning environment and guarantee the academic and personal success of their students.
Next, purpose of studies. We usually find out that most of the students got affected by financial stress. In this study, we will identify what are the actual causes and what are the effects of financial stress among students. Through this study, we will get to know more about this issue and we will find solutions to help students to reduce their financial stress. Eventually, we help all the students in university to overcome this kind of difficult situation during studies journey and make them to stay focused and concentrate on their studies until they can graduate excellently and get their dreams career in life come true. Next, scope of study. This study was initiated by our group, Ain Akila, Ayrika Mevali, Cik Amira, Farah Kalisha, and me, Nabila Hazima. We are currently in semester 4 Diploma in Business Studies UiTM Johor Segamat. The studies on the impact of financial stress on student performance involve the participation of 50 students in UiTM Johor Segamat. The respondents who were between 18 to 26 and above were involved in this study. The data collected via questionnaire were distributed on 19 May 2024 using Google Form.
First, I will explain about methods of investigation. Our study target college students and we use a questionnaire to gather responses. Out of 50 participants, 18 were male and 32 were female. The age distribution was as follows. 38 respondents were aged between 18 to 20 years. 12 respondents were aged between 21 to 25 years. We had no respondents aged 26 and above. Regarding faculty representation, we had responses from various faculty, Business and Management 29 respondents, Accountancy 8 respondents, Computing, Informatics and Mathematics 8 respondents, Language Study 5 respondents. We also looked at the study year of our respondents. Most respondents, 22 in total, were in Part 4, 40 respondents were in Part 2, 6 respondents each in Part 3 and 5, 2 respondents were in part 1. Lastly, we note that 40 of our respondents were resident, while 10 were non-residents. Next, let's discuss our sampling size. We received a total of 15 responses. The majority of our respondents, 38 in total, were aged between 18 to 20 years. This age group provides significant insight into how financial stress affects freshman year college students. The second largest group was aged 21 to 25 years with 12 respondents. Now, onto our data collection method. We collect primary data using a Google Form questionnaire. This allows us to gather up-to-date and accurate information directly from the source. Our questionnaire covers topics such as the level of financial stress, source of income, monthly spending, and strategy for managing financial stress. Importantly, we ensure respondent anonymity by not requiring names.
The figure shows the percentage for gender distribution among respondents to a survey about impact of financial stress on student performance. The pie chart is divided into two segments, with blue representing female student 64% and orange representing male student 36% who respond to our Google form. This shows that female students could just respond better to survey, or they might be more interested in or impacted by the issue of financial hardship in connection to academic achievement. It's crucial to keep in mind that survey reach or the underlying demographic of the population may be reflected in the respondent gender distribution.
Assalamualaikum and hello. My name is Cik Amira binti Cik Rosmi. Now I'm gonna talk about the chart. The chart shows the age of the respondent who filled in the form. 30 students were between 18 until 20 years old. The remaining 12 students were between 21 until 25 years old. The average number of students aged 18 until 20 years fill out for this survey because our group members have more friends between that age. This problem happened because most students are still not wise in managing their money.
Now, let's look at faculty representation of our respondents. The Faculty of Business and Management had the highest percentage of respondents at 58%. This indicates that a majority of students from this faculty are highly aware of the impact financial stress can have on academic performance. The Faculty of Accountancy and the College of Computing, Informatics and Mathematics both had 16% of the respondents. This suggests a moderate level of awareness among students in these faculties. Lastly, the Academy of Language Studies had the least numbers of respondents, with only 10% of students expressing concerns about financial stress affecting their academic performance.
Okay, so for the first question in section 1, we asked about students' part. We can observe here that most of students who answering this questionnaire are on their part 4, which is 44% from them answer A. Then followed by part 2 students, which is 28%, while part 3 and part 5 students are the same, which is 12% answer this question. And lastly, the least one who participate in this investigation is part 1, where there are only 4% of them answer E.
Financial stress can significantly impact how well students perform in their studies. The impact varies between those who live on campus, which residents, and those who live off campus as non-residents. Residents have the highest percentage, which is 82% live on campus. They experience financial stress from tuition fees and other educational expenses, which can affect their academic performance, while 20% non-residents, smaller group of students, live off campus. These students usually face higher living expenses such as rent and transportation. This additional financial burden can cause more stress, making it harder for them to do well in their studies. In conclusions, financial stress affects both residents and non-resident students, but non-residents may struggle more due to higher living costs. Reducing financial stress is important to help all students succeed academically.
Based on the chart, show rate level of financial stress among UiTM Segamat students, the largest segment of students, 40%, rate their financial stress as low, indicating that they experience a manageable level of stress regarding their finance. Conversely, a smaller yet significant portion of students, 20%, perceive their financial stress as very high, which suggests they are experiencing a substantial amount of stress related to financial matters. This information is important because it reflects on student well-being and may be used to recognize population who might need more assistance or resources to deal with their financial load. Question above the chart shows that the data was gathered in the response to a survey question on individual angles of financial stress. And the remark below the chart verified that the data related to UiTM Segamat student is essential for institutions to recognize this level of stress in order to create focused solutions that enhance the financial well-being of their students.
Financial stress is a significant factor affecting students' performance, with its frequency among students playing a crucial role in determining the extent of its impact on academic success. A significant percentage of students with 14% always struggle with money issues. Next, 20% of students are in another group who often struggles with money. They may become more anxious and less productive as a result of this frequent trouble, which would further affect their achievement in education. Then, 50% of students report having sometimes financial concerns. These sometimes worries may not be a continuous problem, but they can nevertheless cause disruption to academic focus and lead to periodic performance drops. A smaller percentage, representing 8% of students, rarely encounter financial stress. Finally, 2% of students say that they have never worried about money. As a conclusion, the highest percentage is sometimes students concerned about their financial, which is 56%. This concern can still disrupt their studies, impacting their academic performance. A small minority of students reported never having financial worries, which is only 2%. Their ability to focus on studies without financial stress highlights the significant impact of financial stability on academic performance.
Now, we go to the sources of income for university students. As we can see from the graph, the majority of students receive financial assistance from their family to cover their university expenses. A total of 33 respondents received money from family members. Furthermore, students who receive spending money from PT and Omara for 19 respondents. This demonstrates that there is another option for student family facing financial difficulties. They can apply for PT and Omara. 10 respondents answered that scholarship were their sources of income. The remaining 11 respondents choose that part-time job as their sources of income. The top two in the diagram are food and internet. These two things are very important for every student. About 88% of students spend their money on food because food is the one of the important thing in life. The second highest is the internet. The internet is the second most important requirement for students. Without internet, students cannot complete their tasks quickly. Next, three things that are in the same percentage in the chart are entertainment, fees, and rent. A total of 13 respondents answered that books are the things that many students spend the most, but is a low percentage if we compare to others. For the last and the lowest is transportation.
We asked the students about their monthly spending. Based on the figure below, we can see that most of students spend Rm300 to Rm500 ringgit monthly, which are 15% from them. In this, we know that the students only buy necessary things to live peacefully in college. Then, 28% from the students spend less than Rm300 ringgit, while there are 60% from them spending Rm500 to Rm800 ringgit. I think this is because of to pay the rent and internet, especially for a non-resident students. And lastly, 6% from them spend their money around 800 ringgit to around 1000 ringgit monthly. There were no students spending their money more than around 1000 ringgit monthly. In this, we can get here that the students are not wasting their money because of their monthly expenses are not more than 1000, which are too much spending as a student. We asked the student about how financial stress can affect their studies. In these studies, we get to discover that financial stress will affect students' focus on their studies. There are 46% of the students who got affected by the financial stress moderately, 26% of students affected by it significantly, 22% of the students affected by it only slightly. Also, there were 4% of the students agreed that financial stress are very significant to them, and lastly, 2% of the students were not affected at all. It means that they can fully concentrate on their studies without worrying about financial problems.
Now, we will be discuss the frequency with which students skip meals or eat less due to financial difficulties. According to the survey, 12% of students always skip meals due to financial issue. This indicates an impact of financial stress on their eating habits, posing a significant risk to their health. Another 20% of students often find themselves in a similar situation, frequently skipping meals or eating less because of financial constraints. The majority of students, 46%, sometimes skip meals or reduce their food intake due to financial difficulties. On the other hand, 22% of students rarely skip meals. There are no students who report never skipping meals or eating less due to financial issues. This indicates that financial stress affects the eating habit of all students to some extent. Let's look at the data about what causes financial stress among college students and how it affects them. The survey shows that transportation costs are the biggest cause of financial stress, affecting 46% of students. Many students struggle with the cost of commuting and traveling for internship or activities. Next, 40% of students feel stressed about the cost of textbook and rent. Textbooks are expensive, making it hard for students to afford them, which can affect their studies. Rent is also a big expense, especially for students living away from home. About 30% of students are stressed because they don't get enough financial support from their family. Many students depend on their family to help pay for tuition and living expenses, but this can be hard for families with lower income. Debt is a source of stress for 20% of students. They often have to take out loans or use credit cards to pay for their education and living costs, which can lead to worries about repaying this debt. Finally, 10% of students mention other causes of stress like unexpected expenses, medical bills, or supporting dependents.
The graph illustrates how some students' increased use of substance may be a result of financial hardship. It's interesting to note that some students do not seem to detect any negative effect from financial difficulties on their academic lives. Each category is represented by a bar with a height proportional to a percentage of students affected in that manner. The chart provides valuable insight into different coping mechanisms and consequences that financial stress can have on students, which can be crucial for developing support system within educational institutions.
Based on the figure, we can see that most of students spend 300 to 500 ringgit Malaysia monthly, which are 50% from them. Then, 28% from the students spend less than 300 ringgit Malaysia, while there are 16% from them spending 500 to 800 ringgit Malaysia. And lastly, 6% from the students spend their money 800 to 1000 ringgit Malaysia monthly. There were no students spending their money more than 1000 ringgit Malaysia monthly. As a conclusion, financial issue has become common among university students, which leads to mental health issues. From the findings, Gender and age range does influence financial stress, which shows most of the respondents were female students compared to male students, and focus on students that age 18 to 20 as they are more concerned and affected by this matter. Besides, most respondents are part for students since it is harder for them to stay in college, which resulted them to find places to stay outside. Non-residents will encounter financial stress due to high rent and cost living outside. But financial stress also affects resident students since they have to pay for rent too. Other than that, students mostly spend more on foods as it is the most important thing for human to keep living. Spending on meals can be costly since the economic impact towards raw materials has been limited, which resulted an increase in prices. This may lead to financial stress towards students and lead them to skip meals just to save money. This action may lead them to malnutrition, which can cause them unable to focus on class or attend classes. To conclude, financial stress may impact both mental and physical health among students, which result in bad performance in education. However, this issue can be solved in many ways to make sure students can feel at ease while continuing their studies without worrying too much on their financial. It is important to acknowledge how to prevent financial stress from getting worse and the impact it will have on students if the issue cannot be resolved. Every problem has its solutions, so students should avoid negative thoughts and find ways to manage their financial since every good outcome needs efforts. Without positivity among students, financial stress can be hard to deal with and affect their future. Besides students, their surroundings such as parents and lecturers may join in hands on helping them in this issue because having someone's attention can make them feel at ease as a reminder that they always have someone to rely on. As a result of implementing the recommendations, this issue allows students to live their best with more ease as financial issue will not be much of a big problem to them. These recommendations will not only assure their good health but also help them to maintain their good grades.